And I just finally let it all fall away. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, what is happening? And who have I become? And who am I anymore? And I said, I am going to hold myself to a standard of grace because that's all at the end of the day that really matters.
Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. Discover yourself, break out of mediocrity, and become the mom you've always aspired to be. Here's your host, Kirsten Tyrell.
Hey Marvelous Moms, welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. For the day, I'm going to be talking to the amazing Emily Lay. I'm so excited. That was like a rhyme that I did not intend to do, but it totally came out that way. I was trying to switch up my introduction and then it ended up being a rhyme, so there you go. Emily is an author of an amazing book, which I'm super excited to read, called Grace, Not Perfection, which I was just telling her is something I actually probably greatly need right now, which is always the case with my guests. They know just when to fall onto my doorstep, and they know just when I need them. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Emily.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to chat with you, and I'm excited for you to share your message with everybody because I think it's an important one, and I think it's one we don't hear enough. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those things where, yeah, we know we can't be perfect, we know we can't do it all, but we still try, right? Like we still think we have what it takes. We still have the stuff.
Absolutely. We all run ourselves a little ragged.
Yeah. My sister just said that to me yesterday. She's like, you cannot have it all. And I said, who are you talking to right now? Like,
right.
I know you didn't just say that to me. What do you think I've been doing for the last 31 years of my life? I'm trying to have it all.
All of it. Yeah.
All the things. So
all the things.
First of all, tell us about your kids, how many kids you have and their ages and what your mommy life is like right now.
Well, mommy life is a circus. It's wonderful and really hard. I have 3 kids under 6. So I have a 5.5-year-old Brady. He just started kindergarten. Fun. And Brady is my so far, very easy kid. He's just super easygoing, just really well-mannered and smart and great. I have twins that are 21 months old. Wow. I never know when we stop counting months and we start counting years. So we're almost 2.
Yeah, maybe at 2. Maybe at 2 you stop doing months.
I think that's right. Tyler is the oldest by 3 minutes. And Tyler is my very sensitive, very sweet. He's the smallest of my kids. And he is just, we always say he's made out of marshmallows and honey. Wonderful. And then our baby is a baby girl. And her name is Caroline, and she has personality coming out her ears, and she smiles with her whole face. And she is our youngest. She's wonderful.
It's so fun.
It's so great, and it is so crazy.
It sounds crazy. It sounds really crazy, and it sounds like maybe the inspiration behind your book title.
Oh, yes, ma'am. It absolutely was. I started writing Grace, Not Perfection when they were 9 months old.
Oh my gosh, you were right in like the thick of it. Was that
the thick? Yeah.
What do you think was the hardest age or stage of twins, or are you still in it?
Can I say right now?
Yeah, you totally can. Almost 2?
Almost 2 is hard just because we're in the toddler phase and we're still cutting teeth and we're learning to talk, and they've been walking for a while, but they're learning to talk and they're everywhere and they go in opposite directions. But it's also the time where their little personalities come out, and it's really fun to hear them use words and interact with each other when they're not biting or pulling hair.
Yeah.
But I would say actually the hardest time was being pregnant with twins and a mom to a 4.5-year-old.
Yeah.
He was 3.5. Yeah. Cause he turned 4 right when they were born. So that was a lot.
I can't even imagine. Even if he was your easy kid, even if he was the most mellow kid ever, he's still 3.5 years old.
Amen. I always say it's a good thing God lets us go through our life in seasons because, I often think this stage of life is going to last forever.
I totally identify with that 100% because I remember like I don't even know how long ago it was because everything runs together, maybe a couple years ago being out to dinner with some friends and they were like, yeah, I just kind of drive myself crazy thinking this is going to be life forever. And then I remembered he's going to grow up and he's going to go to school. And it was literally like, oh my gosh, you're right. I had not thought about that. I literally thought this was going to be forever.
Forever and ever and ever. Today, I walked Brady across the street to the bus, and I always hold his hand, and I walk him across the street because cars are crazy. And we got about halfway, and he was like, you don't have to hold my hand, Mom. I'm good. And I was like, I about just laid out on the floor. Like, are we there? We're already, no. And I was like, absolutely not. You're holding my hand. And I was like being really funny, and I like squeezed his hand and held it to my chest. And I was like, hold my hand all the way to the bus. Totally
Never let
embarrassing.
go.
Right. Never, ever, ever.
That's so cute.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Wow. What a crazy, totally true circus that you're living right now. But how exciting. And your
Yeah.
babies, your twins, did not come easily. Did they come as a
Oh,
result of fertility treatments?
they did. They did. Somebody asked me the other day, are your twins real? And I was like,
I think
huh?
so.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yes, they cry a lot and they have diapers and they're pretty real. But yeah, our twins did not come the way we expected them to come. My husband and I dealt with about 4.5 non-consecutive years of infertility. About a year before Brady. Oh, about a year and a half before Brady. And then Brady was conceived as a surprise
Wow.
somehow after many surgeries and treatments. And then the twins, we struggled with infertility a lot longer. It was about three years, and did everything you can think of, all the surgeries and medications and IUIs and
Hmm.
all the things. And we finally decided, all right, we are going to do IVF and we're going to give it one shot. And if it doesn't work, it's the way it's supposed to be. And we'll be grateful that we had Brady. And um, we went in and thought we were going to come out with one, and we came out with two.
Wow. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it was so exciting. My husband's face when they told him we were having twins was something I will never, ever, ever forget.
You wish you had, I mean, you don't need a picture, but
Right.
it's definitely burned into your brain, but it'd be fun for all of us to see the picture
It
too.
is. Little did we know what life would become, but
Wow.
it was a journey. But I really feel like I changed a lot and grew a lot through that process. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a journey.
Definitely. We all have to have our little fire that we have to walk through to enjoy the journey a little bit more, don't you think?
I really do, and I feel like the struggle and the things that we went through, it made me a different person completely.
Yeah.
It made me just look at life a little bit differently because I had a really perfect plan, and there were many times where I remember thinking, I make planners for a living, like I have a plan. Why can this not go the way my plan is good? And the story ended up far better than I could have imagined. We
Yeah.
we could not have twins if it weren't for what we went through.
That's
So.
amazing. Okay, so because you kind of went in there, and now I'm really curious about the story of your planner and then how the book came after that. So, did you already have a planner and you already had a planner business, that kind of thing, before the twins? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, what
I
is going on
did.
with my voice? Sorry.
Allergies are going around.
Oh
My
my
whole family.
gosh.
We've also passed around the kindergarten virus, whatever that is. Um,
Whatever that may be, we
right.
have it.
Totally. It's funny. My son was born 5.5 years ago, and I was in the very early stages of my business, and I was doing any sort of graphic design I could get my hands on. I just left my full-time job. I was doing wedding invitations and brand design and things like that.
Hmm.
And my son was like this baby that I had wanted so badly forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And I loved him with all of me. And I also loved my work. And I knew I wanted to work, but also have the flexibility to be a great mom and be available for all the things. And
Yeah.
uh, I found myself completely and totally overwhelmed and quite literally hit a brick wall where I was pacing around my house and very, very upset, trying to answer a brand client's questions on the phone. And my son was starving, and it was time to nurse him. And all the things were just piling on top of me. I was trying to have homemade dinners on the table at 6 every day and perfect hair. And
Ugh,
I
sounds
finally,
awful.
I know, right? And I just finally let it all fall away. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, what is happening? And who have I
Hmm.
become? And who am I anymore?
Yeah.
And I said, I am going to hold myself to a standard of grace because that's all at the end of the day that really matters. And that means finding the joy in all the little things, letting things be messy, and being okay with that,
Hmm.
and just being myself and realizing that I don't have to be anything more.
Yeah.
So that phrase was coined around the same time that the Simplified Planner was born. And I created it because I was just thirsty for a tool to help me do life well.
Yeah.
And I had gone to Target and Office Max and all the places to find, all the great all the great planners. I tried all the things, iCal and every apps and everything. If you name it, I tried it.
Yeah.
And everything just felt really complicated to me. And I felt like I had enough going on. I didn't need another task or something
Yeah.
else to fail at. And so I decided I was going to make a planner that was just really simple. And I used a binder and some papers and a Sharpie, and I drew out the pages. And we include your tasks, your to-do list, your notes, and your dinner on every page, and that's it.
Nice.
On purpose. So the planner, the Simplified Planner, was born then, and Grace Not Perfection was coined right around the same time. We've actually printed that phrase inside the very back cover of the planners since back in the very beginning. So before it was ever a book.
Yeah.
And then that phrase became the foundation of our company. And we grew from printing, just a couple hundred that I sold on Etsy to being in 750 stores around the world and printing lots and lots. And
That's amazing.
about a year ago, I was sitting in the preschool parking lot and I got an email from my publisher, my now publisher, and they pretty much reverberated back to me what Grace Not Perfection meant to them from what they were seeing from me and from our brand.
Uh-huh.
And I just sobbed, like, what we're doing is working and people get it. And it was so affirming. And they said, we would love to talk to you about writing a book with this message. And I was floored because that's a dream that you just don't dream. It's too big. And so I cried and I called my mom and I said, guess what? And I called them back and we ended up having a really great meeting here in Tampa, and Grace Not Perfection was born a year later.
That's so awesome. So exciting. I love hearing dreams come true. I really do.
Me too.
It's such an exciting thing. Like, I feel excited for you. Just, I can see myself in that moment or see you in that moment. And I think it's easy to identify with if you've ever had a big dream come true or you've had that exciting moment, because you can go through life, you can coast through, and like being a mom is a dream come true. It really is, especially when you've dealt with infertility.
For sure.
But you kind of stop thinking bigger than what you've always known yourself to be capable of. You know what I mean? Like, even when you're in that, it's like a good parallel, because when you're in the infertility mode and you're just like, but I don't think my body can do this. Like, I want to believe it can, but I'm just really not sure it's going to happen. And I have to decide, I can't keep putting myself out there to get hurt. And then, but you have to, because to have that extreme joy, you have to be willing to submit to a lot of pain or a lot of disappointment.
So true.
And then, I just feel like when I've talked about like business and being an entrepreneur to people, it's not about having the most amazing, perfect, original idea. It's about like putting one foot in front of the other, continuing, even though you have no idea what the next step is, you just keep going and the steps appear and then the opportunities come because you're working really hard. And
absolutely.
I just love that. I love your story, and I love that it came from such an authentic place.
Thank you.
Something that you were trying to work on yourself. And it really is something that resonates with so many women. So share a little bit more about like the message. I mean, I know you kind of have, but in the email that I got about the book, it talks about like relationships, organization, parenting. So if you want to break those down a little bit more too.
Yeah. Well, Grace Not Perfection is written in 3 parts. So the first part is having grace with yourself. And the second part is having grace with your community, your people, your family. And then the third part is having grace within your calling. And I broke it into those 3 parts because I really feel like that's the way that women look at their lives. So taking care of me, loving on my people well, and then what was I put here to do? And, it's so funny. I think as women, no matter what season we're in, whether we are a mom or we don't have children yet, or we have not had children, or we are married or unmarried, or any season of life, any age, we know what it feels like to be completely and totally overwhelmed. To be in that place where we're like, I just don't know which way is up. And especially as moms, I feel like when we love other people and have so much that we pour into other people, it's very easy to become empty. And that is what Grace Not Perfection is all about. It's about embracing the joy in every day and taking care of ourselves and filling our wells up with the good things, rest and water and good food and community and friendships and sleep, and taking care of ourselves so that we can then pour that out onto everyone else. And, one of my favorite parts about the book is that it's not just beautiful in theory and has, stories and things like that in it. It's very tactical. So there are pages throughout the entire book that have spaces for Q&A where I'll ask you questions and you write them down within the book.
Yeah.
There's lists and checklists and little activities to do throughout so that you can really get into it and not just read a story and walk away with, how it made you feel, but really walk away with some action steps and some ways that you can really tactically embrace imperfection in your own life and really step into who you are,
Yeah, I love that so much because I feel like that's important. It's an important part of it. And I think, see, I'm a huge Audible reader. I have
Me
to,
too.
like that's just how I
Yeah.
fit it in. But then there's so many times, and my friend Amanda said she does this too. It's like, well, but now I have to still buy the physical book because I need to make notes.
I know, right?
I need to dog ear the
With you.
pages.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I have to like screenshot where I'm at in the book, and I know there's a way to bookmark on Audible. I just barely learned that, but before that, I was like pausing and screenshotting. This is a good spot I need to come back to.
That's great.
So I love that. I love that there's a place there for like note making and responding to really make it more personal and not just another book that you read that makes you feel good, and then you're like, now what?
Now what? Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. I love that so much. I love how it comes from a personal place and then kind of spreads outward. And I think you nailed it on the head when you say like we pour so much out to people that we can become empty. And that's really so much of the purpose behind this podcast too, because I was at a place when I started this a year ago, not even a year ago, where I was totally empty. Like I didn't want to do motherhood. I was so burned out on it and I was so not happy. I wasn't finding the fulfillment. And it's because I had nothing for myself. I don't know. I can't say I had nothing for myself, but I wasn't nurturing the things that I had for myself. You know what I mean? It was just kind of there. And I was just way spread too thin. So I love, and now I'm even spread more thin, but I think I have the right purpose behind it. And it kind of makes me a better mom to have this other thing that I'm doing. And I get to talk to amazing moms all the time. But I love that, how you really do have to fill yourself up to have anything to share. And that's...
You absolutely do. And I also feel like, we take care of other people so well. I was telling someone the other day that if my kids missed breakfast or missed a meal, I would physically die. There's no way on earth that I would let my kids not eat breakfast. But do you know how many days I skip breakfast?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's true.
It doesn't even make sense. Like we want to take care of them so much so that they can be their best selves, but we don't do that for ourselves.
It's true.
And it's like when you sit down and you look at it that simply, wow, what a wake up call, for us to really take care of ourselves and fill ourselves up with things that make us feel whole and help us be our best.
Yeah, that's so true. I've thought about that before. My kids are the healthiest, most well-fed kids, but when it comes to feeding myself, it's like, what can I rummage through because I've got to get going? They eat way healthier than I do. If I ate the way they did, I would feel so much better. But,
I know, right?
Oh, it's such a dumb little math equation that I can't seem to master.
No. I know. And it's funny. I feel like for a long time, and it was probably about a year ago that I really realized this, but for a long time, I just ran myself ragged all day long. And it was ragged between taking care of the kids and taking care of work and growing this company and moving and all the things that were happening all at once. Yeah. And I found that when I did that, I really, really, really was no good. Just absolutely no good for anyone. And it took me really hitting a brick wall and saying, what are you doing with these precious minutes that are your life? Like this season is going to pass you by really fast.
Yeah.
And you're going to look back and think, what happened? What did I do? So I've found that just clearing out some breathing room in my life, just because we're good at it doesn't mean we have to do it. Or just because that something is quote unquote good doesn't mean that we have to be involved in it. Overcommitting and overwhelming and being bigger, better, faster, more all the time is no way to live life.
Yeah.
No way. And I mean, and as entrepreneurs, I think it's so easy to get caught into that. But I feel like I've realized it in the past year and just started really clearing some white space for myself to breathe and be creative and think. And that's where my best work and my best love comes from.
I love that so much. And I love part of your book says something along the lines of, the readers are urged to unsubscribe, stop overcommitting, slow down, and be still, just kind of like what you just said. And that struck a chord with me so much because Literally, how inundated are we with information and with just commitments?
Yeah.
It's so overwhelming. And the busier you get, the easier it is to become busier because you're like, well, look what I'm already mastering. I'm totally fine. I can add one more thing in there.
Yep.
You know, let
Hmm.
me just, I'm amazing like that. I can balance a million
Right.
things. Let me just throw one more thing on there.
Right.
And then eventually you literally have nothing to give to the original things or to the
Yeah.
people. And it's so true. So
Yeah.
how, you just kind of said like you started giving yourself a little bit more grace and a little bit more time. But do you feel like do you feel like it's easier now that you've put it out and written it to follow your own advice? Because I know a lot of times we can preach it and we don't practice it. Do you feel like you practice it?
I do. And that's such a great question because right before the book came out, I found myself back in one of those places where I was overcommitted. All the book things were happening, all the, promos and stuff you have to do and book tours. And
Yeah.
we had just released our 2017 Simplified Planners and launched a new brand out into the world. We started something called Playbook, and it's resources for creative entrepreneurs. And I found myself completely overwhelmed again. And I had a new kindergartner. My twins were going to parents' morning out at the little church up the street. And
Oh my
I found
gosh.
myself again back in that place. And I was like, Emily, Lay, you are not walking the talk all of a sudden. And I
Yeah.
think it was a learning experience for me that this isn't something we just master in one day. We're just perfect at it.
Right.
Perfect, for lack of a better word. This is something that's like a continual journey of letting go and letting ourselves off the hook.
Yeah.
And so I did. I hit a place where I said, all right, now it's time to fix it. And so I remember opening my computer and saying no to like 5 different things that were coming up and
Mm-hmm.
taking some things off my plate, even if they were good, asking for help from a couple friends. And I remember that day, I shut my computer and I spent an hour on the floor. I'm actually upstairs in an empty bedroom right now because it's loud downstairs, but in this room on the floor listening to a book on Audible. And it was such a gift to myself to give myself an hour. My kids were at school, everybody was great, but gave myself an hour to just breathe. And
Yeah.
what a difference it makes just to unapologetically unsubscribe and say no to a couple things
Yeah.
and give yourself a minute to breathe. It flips things around for me and kind of put me on a better track to back to where I feel like I'm my best self.
I love that so much. I'm going to go do that right now.
Yeah, you should.
It sounds so relaxing. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. You deserve it.
Well, yeah, we all absolutely deserve it. Everybody listening, go do that as soon as you end this episode.
I love it.
Well, you're amazing. So I have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
Because we've mentioned reading. What is your favorite book or the book that you're reading right now?
I'm reading The Life-Giving Home by Sally and Sarah Clarkson, and it is so good. It's so good that I can't make it all the way through the book. I'm still like 3/4 of the way done.
Ooh.
Um, Sally Clarkson has been a Christian writer for a very long time. She's written lots of parenting books that are just really, really good.
Uh-huh.
But she and her daughter wrote this book about making your house a life-giving home by building rhythms and traditions, and even in the way you decorate,
Hmm.
uh, making your house a life-giving home and not, a place of rejuvenation and rest, and not necessarily a place of get all the things done and eat dinner and go to sleep. And it's really, really, really good. I have to like stop after some chapters and like go put some things into practice and then come back and get more.
Yeah. So it's a lot like your book. It's like action taking.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I like it so much because it's just
Maybe.
really practical and I appreciate that. Like, give me all the good theories, but then tell me how to do it?
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's so good. I love it.
That's awesome. I've heard a couple other guests recommend that book, so I'm gonna link to it in the show notes, and then I'm probably needing to go and read it because it sounds really, really good. So
And
that
if you
one
like
and your
Audible,
book.
thank you. Yeah, if you like Audible, Sally actually reads it on Audible, and it's really good.
Oh, good. I love that. I love when the author reads it. So much more exciting. And then finally, final question that I ask all my marvelous moms: what makes you a marvelous mom?
Oh, good question. I think at this season of life, what makes me a marvelous mom is that I'm all in right now. Like, let's
Hmm.
play. Let's get messy. Let's splash really big in the bathtub and get water everywhere. All it takes is a towel to clean it up.
Yeah.
Let's go outside and like play in the mud. let's throw parties in the kitchen for no reason. Let's turn the music up loud. I just want to make a fuss right now. And my kids are at this really fun age where they're little, but they're interactive. And I think kind of stepping into the messiness of this season is definitely what makes me a marvelous mom.
I love that so much. See, I needed even that. I needed that reminder that it just takes a towel to clean it up. Because
right.
I totally do get stuck in that, like, oh, one more mess.
I know.
Why? When really, like, it's not going to be this way forever. So I might as well enjoy it and just grab the towel. So I love that so much. You're amazing, Emily. Thank you so much for being a guest. I'm so excited to share this with everybody, and truly think you are marvelous, and I'm so honored to have had you on the podcast.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Good. I love hearing that. It's supposed to be fun. All right, everybody listening, thanks for tuning in, and have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey, Marvelous Moms. Are you planning a trip to Disneyland anytime soon? If so, I have an amazing resource for you. I recently published an e-guide that will get you through the park and have the most amazing experience possible. Since I'm a Disney fanatic and I go all the time with my 3 kids, many of those times I go alone, people are asking me all the time, how do you do Disneyland? What's the best way to do it? What's the cheapest way to do it? So I'm putting all of my tips and tricks into a guide for you. So go check it out right now at DisneylandAdventure.com and get your copy. I have one for each park, or you can get both. It's an awesome deal, and I want you to get the absolute most out of your Disneyland vacation, because after all, you've worked really hard for it. So go check it out, DisneylandAdventure.com.